Our first meeting. The week after Christmas, 54 years ago, we met in Kew Gardens where I lived, barely a college student, in my black stretch pants and zippered sweater, only 17 and wary of the brash boy who had charmed me on the phone. You appeared, smelling of Old Spice, a wild wind of a man, and we walked to the Austin Theater past the Pocket Park, its benches usually filled with ogling neighborhood residents, toward the neon lights to see Ingmar Bergman's Wild Strawberries. A first date, and you the essence of a gentleman, slipping easily between brash boyishness and extreme care for me. As first date drifted to second and third, suddenly I knew you, this cavalier charmer, would be more to me some day, as if the message had been conveyed by angelic carolers. But I chose a callow Harvard boy for New Year's Eve, though this choice caused a hole in my heart when I heard of the pain you had suffered without me from my deceit, and your words on onion skin sheets wooed me from afar. I waited until we were wed to disclose the truth of that night, and you jumped ahead of the pack of fruitless, unconnected college boy dates. The one who felt right for me, whose humor brought me to tears, and who I wanted to spend my whole life exploring. And I knew, though we were an ocean apart, eventually you would be my one.
When I met Hal, I had absolutely no confidence in myself. I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't think men thought I was beautiful, even though I got whistles and whatever. I didn't really believe anybody who told me I was beautiful until Hal told me I was beautiful. And then I started to believe it, and he made me feel important and confident. He made me feel that what I had to say was important. And he brought out of me the woman that I am today. So how did he change me? He made me way more argumentative and opinionated and just who I am. I mean, through him, I met so many people, and we traveled a lot because he loved to travel. And I became a person who could deal with almost any kind of person. So yeah, he helped me and changed me a lot. He also was very political, and so I got very political myself. And he also taught me a lot about people. He showed me a lot about people, and people always loved him, and it's because he knew what to do around people. He knew how to make people happy, and he tried to tell me how to do the same. And it's funny, I never quite got to his level, but I feel like I learned a lot from him. And if you ask anybody about him, they would say the same thing, that he had this kind of ability to get along with everyone, from the sanitation engineer to the CEO. He was that kind of person who just could get along with everyone. All his clients loved him, and it's because he treated everyone the same. And he treated me very, very well for most of the time. And I felt loved, is all I can say.
The moment I fell in love. No one prepared me for the moment when all reason flew away and logic dissolved. A wanton, unknown girl emerged as your lips touched mine, and your mouth formed an allegiance as mine surrendered, engulfed by those two soft soldiers who pressed their flesh onto my soul. I knew when you held me close, and I wanted to melt into you. This was destiny, planting its mark on my lips.
Well, the nature of our relationship was very unusual. At first, we were very lovey-dovey. always hands on each other. And that continued way into our marriage. And then when, pressures of life started to get to us and we couldn't be as coupled as we wanted to be, that slowly faded, but it never really died. And there was always affection between us and a great deal of love and a great deal of passion too. I mean, passion in everything. I was never one way. I'm not a person who compromises very easily. You can ask my daughters that. And he was not someone who compromised easily either. So we would clash a lot and we would argue a lot because we both wanted the same thing, but we came to it from different angles. He always wanted it black and white right away, and I was always, yeah, we'll get to it. I know I want this, but this is how I want to approach this. And so we had very heated arguments. And sometimes we had no idea why we were fighting. And then we would quickly make up. I mean, we'd make up within an hour. I very rarely got angry at him, although I do remember a couple of times when I didn't speak to him for a couple of days because I was really angry. And I do things like when my kids were older, so they remember it. I'd say, would you tell your father that I feel this way? And then he'd say, why is she not talking to me? I would say, tell your father that I won't talk to him until he does this and this. And it was very sitcom-y. And actually, my friend Mary, who was an artist, said that she wished she could have a filmmaker film us because of our interaction. We were so always like this at each other because we had different opinions about stuff. But for the really important stuff, like, how to bring up our kids and religion and politics and even sports, we were all on the same page. So yes, we had some heated discussions and arguments and some knockdown, drag 'em out fights sometimes where it would be all on my side because he almost never would retaliate. I would hit him or I'd throw things at him because living with a lawyer is just impossible. Anyone who's ever lived with a lawyer will know this. Lawyers do not give up. They will argue and argue and argue and argue until they get their point across. And then they will continue arguing to make sure you understand that this is the point they want to make. And so he would go on and on and on. And eventually, the only thing I could do was either hit him or leave the room. And, a lot of times I wouldn't even bother. I wouldn't even answer because it wasn't worth it. And a lot of times I talked to him.
Sorry, when you say hit him, do you mean like you punched him?
No, I meant I'd hit him like, he was almost like impossible to hurt. So I would hit his shoulder or like that. I never really attacked him. It was not, neither of us ever hurt each other. I just want to say that. We would never intentionally hurt each other. And it was not abuse. It was more like me acting out because it was so frustrating to deal with someone who doesn't, stop arguing. And so many times I would just give up. Sometimes I would give up and he would know when he had gone too far. And occasionally he would say he was sorry. Many times he wouldn't even understand if I was angry, why I was angry. And basically we would return to our natural situation, which was being with each other, watching TV, listening to music, doing whatever we did, just doing that. So, no, it was, but if you ask anybody who really knew us, like my brother, my daughters, they would say that our relationship was pretty volatile, but there was always love there. He never did anything that would show me that I wasn't protected or safe. And then, of course, if I really got him angry, he was a big guy, I would just run out of the room, away from him. And once or twice, he'd get angry and walk out of the house and go sit in the car, a lot of the times. And once he went to a bar and got drunk and called me from there. But on the whole, I would say it was, a relationship.
My wedding. We did it simple, no fuss, no frills, no long white dress, a simple brocade summer weight off-white wool suit, no veil, a pillbox hat, still popular 2 years after Jackie left the White House. Morning light streamed into the spacious rabbi's study as we faced each other, your eyes locked with mine, the bond there before you placed the ring on my finger. The Hebrew words swirled me into history, and I thought of all the brides who stood beneath the canopy and recited those words, said them to the callow men who stood before them and pledged eternal love. Unshed tears pooled in my eyes. Tearproof makeup had not been invented. I thought you were handing me your heart as you recited the words that would bind us, that now my life was complete, marriage the happy ending. Open-palmed, we faced each other, and I placed my heart, fragile as a flower petal, in your hands. Love's magic would sustain us, for better or worse, richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, I thought.
So he was being moved to another place, and so he wanted me to write to him, and I said, yeah, I'll write to you, because he was like the sweetest man I had, well, boy, but I thought he was a man then, so, and that I'd ever dated. He was such a gentleman, he was so funny, and he was so sweet. He didn't try anything. I mean, I'd been with college boys, and they were always trying stuff. He didn't try anything. It was the third date, and I kissed him on the cheek, and that was okay. And so we started writing to each other, and we wrote to each other for 3 years, from the time I was a freshman to when I was going to be a senior.
A freshman in college?
A freshman in college to the time that I was a senior, actually going to be a senior in college, yeah. And I knew, as I was writing to him, that I never met anyone like him. I kept comparing boys that I went out with to him, and I even fell in love a few times, but it wasn't really anything. And there was no one to compare with him, and I always felt in the back of my mind that he was the one. But the thing that really got me and made me feel he was the one was when he came home after he'd been in the Army, and there's a whole poem about the kiss, and there's actually a whole screenplay I've written about the kiss. But when he came back and we met that night that he called, after he called me, then we met in my house, he was very nervous, and I was like very nervous too. And then I felt that he really liked me, and I really liked him, and there were sparks. And then when he kissed me, which is our very first kiss on the mouth, it was like, you know how they say magic?
A complex man. Beneath the surface is the man he once was, leaping through life on 2 healthy feet, jumping to play basketball, arms strong to hold me close. Beneath his surface, the young man lies, face unlined, with his arrogant eyes and soft lips, mouthing the phrases young men use to entice women. Beneath his eyes is the man who once inhabited this body, virile and strong, eager to catch life in his teeth, looking for adventure around every turn. Each day a new place, spacing his moments, dreaming of a freedom he saw somewhere out there in the distance, planning for the future, always looking to tomorrow, not seeing today. His days are now filled with doctor appointments and long hours spent sitting in his leather chair with feet defeated by the disease that is silently destroying him. And though try as he might, it will not subside. He lives with the 4-toed feet and accepts the wounds caused by his need to ingest the steroid that keeps him aware and holds back the sarcoidosis, injects himself with life-saving insulin, and holds back the truth of how he feels. When asked how does he feel, his answer is always, fine, great, couldn't be better. The mix of medication, a cocktail it takes 5 doctors to keep balanced. Beneath the hazel eyes I know so well is the youth he once was, and in dreams his feet move running through the city streets as he did as a boy.
Okay, so I would say he was a loving father, but I don't think that he had a lot of time to be the kind of father he wanted to be. In the beginning, he was working constantly, and he was constantly working all the time. But he did try to take time to be with the kids. He was very forceful in what he expected from the children, but I would not say he was authoritarian. He was more like, let them be themselves, unless they have to learn a skill. And then that was a difficult thing for him because he was not a great teacher. He was a wonderful man. He was a very intelligent man, but except with kids in a classroom, one-on-one, it was very difficult for him to teach. He tried to teach me to drive, and that was almost impossible. He was good with my younger daughter, Sarah, in teaching her, because Sarah was very amenable and she did everything he wanted to do. But with my older daughter, he was not so good. And so they had clashes, and she didn't do things the way he wanted her to do. So they had clashes, but he always loved the kids. And if they had anything to do at all, and he could do it, he would come to every single thing they did. Music things, anything, everything that they did, he came to. He was very protective of them, even after they grew up. He was still protective of them. And I would say, on the whole, he tried to impart a lot of knowledge to his kids. And I think he also tried to impart a feeling that the world is full of different kinds of people and you have to accept them. And I think we both did. And also to try and make them feel good about themselves most of the time, even though it didn't always work. And I think it was hard for him because he'd never had a sister. He didn't really know a lot about girls. So having 2 girls was really a tough thing for him. But he loved them to death. He loved them so much. And he wanted only good things for them. And he was very proud of their achievements. And I think that it's a testament to him that they miss him so much, because he was a big part of their life. Even though He was when they were younger. He wasn't there really at their bedtime or anything. He took whatever time he could to be with them and to show them things. We went to museums. We went to the zoo. We went to do anything that was cultural. He imparted all of his musical knowledge to them. We went to concerts together, folk things together. We tried to do as much as possible with the girls and to make them feel special, and also to have them learn about the world, not so much, what TV, but everything else, everything. And when we watched TV with them, he was always telling them stories. He constantly tells stories everywhere about his life, about the people that he met. And he tried to impart knowledge about history and the world to them all the time. So I think he was a good father. I think he had a low boiling point. And sometimes if he was upset, and later when he got sick, his boiling point, got very much lower. So, but he would still be, really sweet to them. And I think that's why they miss him so much.
Your departure. We knew you were going, yet we ignored all your preparations. How you cared no more for your favorite foods, or how you kept telling us we could stand on our own. And we tried to fight the force of your ever-present anger at this unpleasant and unwanted and certainly untimely leaving, as you slowly each day became littler and weaker, and your limbs shrunk to the size of canes. Your spirit undaunted sent false denials as your hands trembled, and we watched as you were forced to succumb to machines to control your breath. Yet you stayed on, not wanting to take that final trip, even though last call was being sounded, and we took our goodbyes separately and together that last night, when we hoped you might stay for a while longer. And I fed you pudding and yogurt like a baby, while you tried to smile and stay just a little longer with us. You sensed your leaving was soon, and begged to go like a whining child. There is hope. Now is not the time to weep and moan. You have to shoulder the burden, and you should know you are not alone. Sadness should not be your tone as you go through your days uncertain. Now is not the time to weep and moan. Don't let me hear you start to groan. Everyone has it tough in life. It is a given, and you should know you are not alone. You may have sins for which you atone, and you have made your life a prison. Now is not the time to weep and moan. Try to be carefree and still as a stone, for in that stillness will be your heaven, and you should know you are not alone. I will soon be a crone, but I still have words to be written. Now is not the time to weep and moan, and you should know you are not alone.